So everything can be gaslighting, just in the sense that if one thing can be gaslighting and you're labeling it, that means everything can be. It doesn't matter what it is. You calling out gaslighting is you gaslighting. Hey everyone, Jesse Dawson here. Welcome to the Jesse Dawson Podcast. Self-explanatory really, that one. First episode, we're kicking it off. And we're kicking off with the doozies. All right, something that I noticed, I have been noticing for such a long time. And that's gaslighting. But before we do jump into that, because this is the first podcast, you may not have seen other things I've posted around this. So let's do a bit of an intro. What is this podcast about? Why are we here? So this podcast it's the Jesse Dawson Podcast. It's going to be me talking about all different kinds of things. So I'm going to be talking about business, marketing, leadership, coaching, relationships, self, deep inner work, existence. I don't know. I'm just making things up now. But I'm going to be talking about all different kinds of topics, and we're just going to go along for the ride. So there's going to be stuff you're going to be interested in. There's going to be stuff you're not going to be interested in, and that's fine. I'm not too fussed about that because and vice versa, the ones you aren't going to be interested in, other people's are. I really can't talk today, but we're just going to go with the punches. We're going to flow with it. We're going to just run with however this comes out, because that's what we do when we're live. When we're 3, 2, 1 live, you just go with it. So that's about the high level of the podcast. If there's anything you want to hear about or know or speak about, want me to speak about, let me know. Chuck it in the comments or send me a message and I'll see if I can incorporate it into one of the episodes down the track. Or if there's anything in an episode that you guys think resonated, highlight it so I know, so I can maybe expand on it a bit later on. So that's essentially why we're here, and I'd love for you to subscribe and follow and jump on the journey from day one. That'd be brilliant. And let's jump into it so I can shut up and get into the topic. Gaslighting. Seen so much on gaslighting. Now I have the definition here on my phone just to get it correct. So gaslighting has been, in my eyes, a very easy lead magnet and engagement pieces in the social world. So Instagram carousels, for instance, or just like images and posts for that are on Facebook and all the social medias and TikTok and everywhere that has content. There's people talking about gaslighting and they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. They're just somebody who's been hurt by someone and are using gaslighting as an excuse to justify their feelings. So let's talk about what it is, what it isn't, what the definition of it is, how it works, and why it's kind of a flawed concept. So let's dive into it. So to kick it off with, gaslighting, definition. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse where a person or a group makes someone question their sanity, perception of reality, or memories. People experiencing gaslighting often feel confused, anxious, and unable to trust themselves. I'm sure everybody in the entire world has ever felt like that at some point in their life. All of those emotions are listed off: confused, anxious, unable to trust themselves. Everyone's felt that, right? So let's just nut that out, that when you feel those things, it's not because you're being gaslighted. Step number 1, I'm going into this hard and fast. This is gravy. This is gravy, this content. What we get stuck on, out of this definition, what we get stuck on the most is that this middle section, which is that a personal group makes someone question their sanity or perception of realities or memories, right? But it's mainly that sanity part that people hold on to. Now, let's not forget that this is a form of psychological abuse, right? This isn't just a thing you hand off, when you're getting coffee. This is psychological abuse is not, sometimes it can be an accident, but most of the time when it's used in the form that gaslighting, the context of gaslighting, it is usually used by someone who is a very extreme manipulator that is consciously aware of what they're doing. And gaslighting is very much a tool in a manipulator's tool belt. So it's not just your everyday thing that happens. It's not in every relationship. Occasionally something might happen that could be interpreted as gaslighting, but it's not in every relationship. So the sanity part gets taken out of context, and that's the bit that is everywhere on social media that everyone talks about. Like, they gaslight you if they make you think that you're wrong, and then this and all the traits of this type of person that you should avoid. And it's just silly. It's silly to be categorizing it like that, because it's not as straightforward as just, oh, they do this, it's gaslighting. Nothing is ever that straightforward unless we're talking about... No, nothing is. Nothing is. So it gets hooked up on that part, but we have to remember the other section of that definition where it was questioning their sanity. Ooh, I better read it. I better read it so I'm not getting it wrong. Questioning their sanity, perception of reality, or memories. So what it is, gaslighting is a distortion of their current reality or something that's happened. And you've got to remember that someone doesn't just gaslight someone for no reason. Unless you're just a twisted unit trying to... Unless you're a manipulator. Unless you're a manipulator, you don't use gaslighting as just a willy-nilly thing. As I said, you don't do it when you go get coffee. You don't do it when you're asking for 2 extra sugars. You only use it when you are a manipulator who's actually trying to cause harm or to get away with something. More importantly, gaslighting is used when let's say that I'm the manipulator in this scenario. I've done something wrong and I'm getting called out on it. So then the person that is calling me out on the act, which they absolutely have every right to do, because I've done something wrong, and whether I've violated a boundary or I've got crossed over something that in their world that is not okay, or I've just flat out done something wrong and they're catching me. I'm then going to distort the reality, distort the memory of what happened, and question their sanity, the grounds that they stand on, in order to make that claim, so that I can get away with the thing. That's what gaslighting is. Or, well, a form of it. There's plenty of other types. But that's what it is. It isn't just that, someone's just like, oh, I don't remember that, and then you feel bad and are using gaslighting as the excuse to justify why you're feeling bad. All right, let's just get that clear. This is such a full-on first episode, isn't it? Brilliant. So that's what gaslighting is. It's something that manipulators use to escape the judgment, escape the blame, and to control other people and control them, because they have the ability to get away. You don't gaslight someone if you don't need to. You don't gaslight someone for the sake of gaslighting them. Maybe you do it in preparation for your grander, more malicious manipulation scheme, sure, but it's not just something that appears in every relationship. So that's what I want to start with. Anything else in that definition that I missed? Let's have a look here. So as a group, people experiencing gaslighting. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about emotions for a second as well. So feeling anxious and that you can't trust yourself. So a lot of people can't trust themselves. A lot of people feel anxious. It's a normal emotion. It's a normal thing to feel, because as we grow in our life, we get faced with new challenges. There's new things that need to come on that we need to grow into. We set new goals. We meet new people. We have more challenging things going on in our careers, our health, all sorts of areas, finances, hobbies, the whole deal. So we're always having to be, well, we don't always have to grow. If you're not growing, you're kind of miserable and unhappy, which is really, really bad and crap. So if you're unhappy, maybe have a look at some of your goals and where you're going. It's a whole nother podcast. I'll do an episode on it. So anxious is a normal emotion. Not trusting yourself is a normal emotion, because once you repeat the activity, whatever it is that you're not trusting yourself about, once you go through it a couple of times, you learn that you're not going to die, and you're not going to actually be any worse off than where you are currently. So you learn to trust yourself. It comes, and then the next thing comes along, and all of a sudden you don't trust yourself again. It's a perpetuating emotion. So those emotions can't be... There's no excuse for emotions, because you just have emotions. Emotions are inherently within us, unless you're a serial killer or a sociopath. You're up to that level. You've got different hardware going on. Your emotions are inherently hardwired into you, and there isn't an excuse for them, because there isn't any reason why they shouldn't be there, or they don't need an excuse. So using gaslighting as an excuse in relationships when you're an unstable emotional individual, I'm really calling people out. When you're that level of insecure or whatever it is, and everyone's got it, right? So it's a completely normal thing to even feel that, to feel insecure. That's normal. It comes with new grounds and growing in yourself and tackling the unknown. And when you have to justify it through the label of gaslighting, it just means that you're not addressing the emotion. It means you're not actually owning that. All right. So to be fair, disclaimer: if you are actually getting gaslighted genuinely by a manipulative person that you shouldn't have in your life, fix that. That is the problem, 100%. And I know what that's like. I have actually experienced true gaslighting by a really, oh my God, sociopath, right? So that's a whole nother story. There's going to be a podcast on it. And it's terrible. You actually genuinely think you're crazy. And I started questioning myself as a coach. That's how deep this went. It wasn't just a sense of, well, I think that I'm not getting the love I need in this relationship. I'm not getting the attention or the admiration I'm not able to give in the way that I need to in this relationship to feel worthy. So I'm going to say it's gaslighting so that I can feel okay with being insecure, or I can feel okay with this emotion and not deal with the emotion. So full on topic to start with, full on thing for me to say. If that's triggered you, good. But also not good in a way that's like, good, you should be dealing with that. Good as in, now sit in that emotion and find out what's going on there. Find out what's happening inside you that needs addressing, that you've been ignoring. That's essentially what I'm kicking off with. It's a real deep thing to just start off with, and that's the direction this podcast is going to go. It's deep all the way, and I know there's loads of people that are craving this level of conversation, because I know I am. I'm craving it, and it's very small places that this level of conversation comes from. So that's what gaslighting is, and around the emotions. Now, I also wanted to talk about, I did touch on what it's not. It's not somebody. Gaslighting isn't just one of the elements as well. Gaslighting is the collective of all of those things that I just read out there, making you question your sanity, your memories, your perception of time and what had happened, and your perception of self and your self-trust. And it's all of those elements put into one. Just like a milkshake isn't just milk shaken up, A milkshake is well, it doesn't even have to be milk sometimes. And fruit and yogurt, and you stir it up and you put things in, seeds, it can be vegetables, it can be all sorts of stuff. And it became, and then I'm sure a milkshake and a smoothie have a crossover area. You see, it's way too complex just to say, oh, you did that thing, you gaslighted me. No, but if someone did gaslight you, you should be able to stand up and say, don't gaslight me. I know what happened, this is what happened. But don't be a dick with it either. Don't be an ass and say, you're gaslighting me, because you're now gaslighting them. So everything can be gaslighting, just in the sense that if one thing can be gaslighting and you can be labeling it, that means everything can be. It doesn't matter what it is. You calling out gaslighting is you gaslighting. So when it comes to talking about gaslighting and people doing stuff and blah, 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 it's usually because you're in a particularly heated moment maybe, or something's happened and you've had an argument or a disagreement, or someone's done something that has triggered something internally. It doesn't even have to be an argument. And then you're like, wow, and you start thinking about things, and your brain pulls information to back that feeling up and to justify it, as I said in the beginning, and you end up calling them out for gaslighting and making them question themselves and their self-trust and their memory of the event, and then you become the gaslighter. You become the person that you're calling them out for being, because you're losing control, and then you're gaslighting them to gain that control back. So let's get into the crux of it. Everything can be gaslighting. You can say, I'm just trying to stand up for my own opinion, and I don't think that's okay. And then that's, well, in a way, that's you questioning their stance, and then you get into a debate about it, whatever it is. I can't think of a thing off the top of my head here, but you get into a debate about it, and then you're actually questioning things that have happened and behaviors and things like that, and you end up accusing them of gaslighting. So the reason I'm ranting on about it so much is because I actually hate this. I hate the fact I'm seeing so much about this when everyone doesn't really know what they're talking about. It's just hurt people hurting people, and hurt people giving half-assed tools to people to hurt people with. So I trust this actually gives you something so far. Maybe I'm just talking absolute rubbish. Maybe my psych friends and my what's the other? Your psychology and I can't remember the other one. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to figure it out. Psychotherapy friends, I got it. Psychology and my psychotherapy friends, they're probably going to roast me because I'm probably way off, But in the general sense of it, your day-to-day life, there is not that much gaslighting going on. Like true gaslighting, there is not much of it going on. There is plenty of arguments and disagreements and places where you might feel that you're hurt or the other person's attacking you. There are plenty of those incidences, but there is not that much gaslighting going on to what I'm seeing around me in the world. So keep that in mind. Now, if you are getting gaslighted, now this is not professional advice because I am not qualified to give you professional advice when it comes to people with disorders and that kind of thing. But I do know a thing or two. So take this for entertainment value only. And this is my advice as a self-titled coach. I have plenty of experience in the world and lots of information gathered. What I would say, if you are in a position where you're actually being gaslighted, so please do not think that I'm trying to minimize anything to do with serious gaslighting, because that needs to be addressed. It's not okay. It should not happen. And if it's not your own insecurities, bring it up and try and gaslight someone else, which is just as bad. And you're actually being gaslighted, and you're in a position where you're dealing with someone who is a manipulator, and they're an emotional manipulator, physical manipulator, whatever. They manipulate you through social dynamics. You need to get out of there. So first off, just get out. If you can walk away and just walk away without any repercussions, just do it. Just go. It's so much better for you. Oh, I just had a burp. If you are able to walk away with no repercussions and you're able to just step away, you have it within you to do that, and you can do that in a healthy way and no one's going to get hurt, that kind of stuff. Do it. Get out of there. You might have to grieve. You might have to get over the person or the relationship or mull over some things in your head, but do it. It's the best decision you'll ever make. If you're not in a position where you can just walk away and you need to do some other stuff, get those people involved, or maybe start in the background building up some of your own strength, your own courage. Maybe not courage. Courage is not the right word, but your own strength, and become more centered in yourself to know that you can handle whatever it is that they throw at you and get yourself out. There might be a mess. Most of the time, there's going to be a mess. There's going to be hell to pay. And from my own experience, I know this. Some of the most traumatic events that I've ever gone through is trying to step away out of the manipulation of this individual. And in the end, I had to call it and say, I know what you've been doing. I understand how you've gotten here, and that's for you to deal with. That's not my responsibility to be at the mercy of your pain. That's for you to deal with, and for you only. I know where I stand. I know what's been happening this whole time, and now I'm stepping away, but you're not coming on that journey with me. I'm stepping away, and I'm doing it myself, and I'm going to go and then live my life. Full on thing to say. And that's going to spark some stuff in the person that is, if they are a gaslighter, because that usually comes with a lot of other manipulative tools as well. They're probably going to spark up because they're losing control over you. So you need to build that up. There's a lot of places you can go to learn these things and become more centered in yourself, and some resources that may help. So there's a couple of books that are out there. There's plenty of books around narcissism and psychopathy and sociopathy that you can read, and plenty of people that have recovered from the abuse of narcissism and sociopathy and psychopathy, and they'll give you some tools in those types of books. Plenty that are like life after narcissism and that kind of thing. There's a book called Attached. It's about attachment styles. I can't remember the author, so I will have to put it in the comments. That's a really good book to read. There's a book by Ross Rosenberg, Human Magnet Syndrome, huge one for that. So if you are, he calls it self-love deficiency, SLD, yeah. And he goes through how codependent individuals build up their self-love and their power again and take back control of their life and get away from those. And there's another book as well by Sharon Pearson, Ultimate You, that teaches you how to deal with the trauma and some of the things from your past, and also how to celebrate the wins and the positives in yourself. So there's some resources for you. Off the top of my head, just right now, there's plenty of stuff to read that you can do to get out of this. But you will face a storm if you're trying to get out of that mess. And good luck. And feel free to reach out and I can point you in the right direction to some people. So there's that. Trust this has been a value and you didn't just get absolutely roasted, because I did go in hard and fast from minute one. And I trust this has been enjoyable. Is there anything in here that, maybe something in here triggered you and you want to share it with me? Maybe something was like an aha moment and it clicked and that was it, and it was just time to, move forward. And I'd love to hear that moment from you. Maybe you didn't like any of it. Please tell me. And maybe you loved the whole thing. So I'd love to hear what you thought, and anything that you can give me. I'll take it. I'll lean in, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So subscribe, follow. What are the other things? Like and share and all the things, whatever it is. Even if you just do one of those, that'd be great. If you just want to just like it. If you just want to subscribe, just subscribe. If you want to share it with one person that really needs to hear this, then absolutely do that, because sometimes it's really good to give to someone, to give them a slap in the face, and sometimes it's really good to help someone that's stuck and needs it. So do that as well. Whatever it is, whatever your style is, whatever your flavor, do whatever it is, and I will see you guys in the next. I will see you or speak to you, depending on what format you're listening to this to, in the next podcast. And I don't even know what the topic's going to be, but have a great rest of the day, morning, night, evening, or don't. And I'll see you guys and speak to you in the next one. Thanks for listening. This has been the Jesse Dawson Podcast, episode 1. I'm out.